All right, so today we're diving into something pretty fascinating, brain health.
Yeah.
We're breaking down this interview you shared with us with neuroscientist Dr. Wendy Suzuki. And get this, she brought a real, like, preserved human brain to the interview.
It's quite the visual.
Talk about a conversation starter.
Yeah, it definitely grabs your attention.
For sure.
And I think that's Dr. Suzuki's point, is that she really wants us to, to grasp the importance of this incredible organ.
Totally.
We talk about taking care of our bodies,
right?
Our physical health, but what about our brain health?
It's easy to forget about, right?
Yeah.
Tucked away up there. But
exactly.
Dr. Suzuki argues that it's just as crucial to our well-being as everything else.
Absolutely.
So in this deep dive, think of us as your guides to, unlocking a healthier, happier brain.
Love it.
We're on a mission to discover the best ways to achieve what Dr. Suzuki calls a big, fat, fluffy brain.
Yes.
Because who wouldn't want that?
Such a great visual. It really highlights this idea of a thriving, active brain.
Yeah.
Just like firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And the good news is, according to Dr. Suzuki, we all have the power to improve our brain health.
Okay.
No matter our age.
That's encouraging.
Isn't that great?
So how do we go about bulking up our brains?
Yeah, so it really starts with understanding this idea, this concept of brain plasticity.
Okay.
And I think sometimes people think that our brain is static.
Yeah.
That we're born with a certain brain and that's it.
Right.
But really, it's much more dynamic.
Okay.
It's constantly being molded and shaped by our actions in our environment.
So it's not that we're stuck with what we're born with.
Not at all.
Our brains are always changing.
Exactly.
Based on what we do.
And Dr. Suzuki highlights this really incredible study done on rats. And they found that rats that were raised in these really stimulating environments, think obstacle courses and toys and social interaction.
So basically like a rat amusement park.
Basically, yeah, exactly. They developed a thicker cortex compared to rats who were raised in standard cages.
And the cortex, that's the outer layer of the brain.
Exactly. And it's responsible for things like higher level thinking.
Wow. So a little rat amusement park leads to real brain gains.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing, right?
It makes you wonder, what about us?
Well, yeah, exactly. So that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because one of the most potent ways that we can actually enhance our brain plasticity is through exercise.
Okay, I knew exercise was good for you.
Yeah.
How does it actually benefit the brain?
Yeah, so when we exercise, our brain is flooded with all of these beneficial chemicals.
Okay.
Including ones that actually promote the growth of new brain cells.
Really?
Yes, and particularly in a region of the brain called the hippocampus.
The hippocampus, I've definitely heard of it.
Yes.
It's like claim to fame.
Think of the hippocampus as your brain's memory champion.
Okay.
It plays a starring role in forming new memories.
Okay.
Storing new memories.
Yeah.
For both facts and events.
Got it.
And unfortunately, it's one of the first areas hit by Alzheimer's disease.
So that's why exercise is often touted as being important for cognitive health as we age.
Exactly.
Because we're literally strengthening our memory center.
You got it. And there was this one study that Dr. Suzuki mentions that really caught my eye.
Okay.
He showed that just 3 brisk walks a week could reduce the risk of dementia in older adults by a significant 30%.
3 walks a week, that feels doable.
Right.
Even for someone who's not exactly a gym rat.
Right.
But what is it about these walks that make them so good for our brains?
So remember those brain cell growing chemicals we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, exercise triggers the release of them.
Okay.
So it's almost like fertilizer for your brain.
Interesting.
These chemicals, they're called growth factors, and they help new brain cells sprout and thrive.
Okay.
Particularly in the hippocampus.
Okay.
They also help to strengthen the connections between those brain cells.
Okay.
Which is crucial for things like learning and memory.
So it's not just about preventing decline, it's about building a better brain.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So it's not just about hitting the pavement.
No.
Dr. Suzuki also talked about other lifestyle factors that play a role.
Yes.
Like what we eat.
Absolutely. So she's a big advocate for the Mediterranean diet.
Okay.
Lots of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats,
Right.
But what I think is so fascinating is why this diet is so good for your brain.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's all about those specific nutrients.
Okay.
So, for example, blueberries are packed with antioxidants, which act like little bodyguards protecting your brain cells from damage.
Nice.
And then fatty fish like salmon, they're full of omega-3 fatty acids,
Okay.
which are crucial for brain cell structure and function.
So it's not just about like eating your greens. It's about choosing the right foods that really deliver those brain-powering nutrients.
Yes.
What about sleep? Because Dr. Suzuki mentioned that, and I will admit I'm someone who's definitely guilty of burning the midnight oil.
Yeah.
Should I be worried?
Let's just say that sleep is non-negotiable when it comes to a healthy brain.
Okay, so I'm guessing pulling an all-nighter isn't doing my brain any favors.
Probably not. You see, when you sleep, that's when your brain gets to work clearing out toxins that have built up throughout the day.
So that groggy feeling I get after a bad night's sleep, that's my brain basically saying, I'm too tired to function.
Essentially, yes. It's a sign that you haven't given your brain enough time to really do its essential maintenance and restoration work.
Oh, okay.
You know? And if you're chronically sleep deprived, that can actually have long-term consequences for brain health.
Okay, point taken.
Yes.
Prioritizing sleep is crucial.
It is.
For a happy brain.
Absolutely.
What about social connection?
Yeah.
Dr. Suzuki mentioned that one as well.
Right. And there's a good reason for that.
Okay.
Strong social connections have been linked not just to a healthier brain, but also to a longer lifespan.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
We're social creatures.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that feeling connected to others would be beneficial.
Right.
But how does it actually like impact our brains?
So when we interact with others, our brain releases oxytocin, sometimes called the cuddle hormone.
Right.
And this hormone has been shown to reduce stress and promote feelings of trust and bonding. Regular social interaction also helps keep our cognitive skills sharp.
Okay, so it's like a workout for my brain.
You could say that.
I like it. Yeah. All right, now before we move on, we have to talk about, I don't know if it's the elephant in the room or the smartphone in our hand.
Right.
Social media.
Yes.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, right?
It is, yeah.
On the one hand, it can be mentally stimulating.
It can.
Give you that sense of connection. But it can also be this addictive force that replaces those real-world interactions.
It can.
And they were just talking about.
Exactly.
That are so crucial.
Right.
How do we find that healthy balance?
Well, first, I think it's about awareness, right?
Okay.
Just recognizing that all of those notifications and updates, they're designed to keep us hooked.
Okay.
They trigger those dopamine rushes.
Right. That's the reward chemical.
Exactly.
In our brain.
Yes. And it's not that dopamine is bad.
Right.
But social media can kind of hijack our brain's reward system to make us crave those quick hits of dopamine at the expense of more meaningful activities.
It's like reaching for the sugary snack when what you really need is a nourishing meal.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
So finding that balance is really key.
It is.
Maybe it's setting limits on your social media use or scheduling some phone-free time.
Absolutely.
Being more intentional about who you connect with online.
Yes, and how it makes you feel.
Right.
If it's draining you, then it might be time to reassess.
Totally.
Yeah.
Now, on a slightly different note,
Dr. Suzuki talked about something that can be tough to discuss.
Right.
But is an important part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Difficult emotions.
Yes.
She specifically mentioned her experience with grief.
Yes.
After losing both her father and her brother.
It's a really powerful reminder.
Yes.
That even in the face of, immense loss and pain, our brains possess this remarkable capacity for healing and growth.
And she had this really insightful perspective on grief.
What's that?
She talked about how the intensity of her grief was actually a reflection of the depth of her love for her father and brother.
It's a beautiful way to reframe that experience.
It is.
That the pain is a testament to the strength of those bonds.
Yes.
To the love that continues even in their absence.
It's a good reminder that those, negative emotions, they're not something to be like feared or avoided.
Yeah.
They're a part of what makes us human.
They are. And Dr. Suzuki goes on to explain that, these so-called prickly emotions,
they can actually serve a really valuable purpose.
Okay.
They can alert us to what truly matters in our lives.
Interesting.
They can highlight our values and really reveal what we need to pay attention to.
They're like internal messengers.
They are?
Even if the messages can be uncomfortable at times.
Yes.
She talked about anxiety in her book, Good Anxiety.
Right.
It can be a signal that something in our life needs to change.
Yes.
Or that we need to prioritize self-care.
Exactly.
It's not always about eliminating these emotions.
Yeah.
It's about learning to understand them and work with them.
Exactly.
And speaking of learning and growth, Dr. Suzuki highlighted a quality she believes to be the best of humanity.
Oh, wow.
And it's not necessarily what you might expect.
Compassion.
Compassion, huh? Interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that, but
yeah,
it makes sense the more I think about it.
Right. And it's not just about empathy.
Okay.
Just feeling what others are feeling. It's about taking that a step further.
Okay.
It's a deep sense of care and concern that moves us to act to alleviate suffering.
Okay.
Both in our own lives and in the world around us.
So empathy and action.
Exactly.
Not just understanding, but actually doing something.
Yes.
And in a world that often feels really divided and disconnected, compassion feels more important than ever.
It does, yeah. And here's the thing. Even from like a scientific perspective, compassion has benefits.
Okay.
Studies have shown that acts of kindness, altruism, those things actually light up the reward centers in our brains.
So being kind to others is actually good for our own brain.
It is.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like a positive feedback loop.
Totally. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Dr. Suzuki's insights, what's the big takeaway here?
I think if there's one thing to remember, it's that you have so much more power over your brain's health and happiness then you realize it's not all predetermined.
Set in stone.
We're not stuck with the brain we were born with.
Exactly.
We can actually shape and improve it through the choices we make.
Precisely. Every decision we make.
Right.
What we eat, how we move, who we surround ourselves with, how we manage stress.
Yeah.
All of that contributes to shaping our brains.
It's empowering.
Right.
But also kind of daunting.
It is, yeah.
It's like, wow, I have all this potential.
Right.
But I also have this responsibility.
Yeah, you do. But the good news is you don't have to do everything at once.
Okay.
You don't have to make these big, drastic changes overnight.
Right.
Start small.
Okay.
Incorporate a daily walk. Try a few minutes of mindfulness each day.
Right.
Reach out to a loved one. Even those small steps can have a ripple effect.
And maybe swap out that sugary snack for a handful of blueberries every now and then.
Exactly. It's about those small, consistent choices that really add up over time.
Totally.
Be curious, experiment.
Yeah.
Celebrate the victories.
Building a healthier brain, it's a journey.
It's not a destination.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was a pleasure being here.
Until next time.